You know, obviously, no major traffic issues out there on the Peace Bridge right now. We can see the trucks going by. But on our side of the border, some local trucking company executives are raising some questions about whether or not there's going to be any follow-up planning to that incident that we saw last week. And the Canadian media, they're asking more questions as well. It's hard to forget these scenes on the 190 and along other roadways last week, all those sideline tractor trailers, which caused major congestion problems since they could not get passed through the border into Canada due to that outage issue affecting what's called the cross-processing system for the Canada Border Services Agency. One supply chain expert told us
they've got an old IT infrastructure, very antiquated. And so the more commerce you do electronically, the more difficulty the system has. And so this is kind of what's going on. That's why you had the outage. And I would expect you'll probably see more outages in the future just because, they're just in the beginning stages of trying to modernize.
The Windsor Star newspaper, which covers the Detroit border crossing, reported that the system's failure caused CBSA officers to actually fill out by hand all the customs clearance paperwork. And it quotes President Mark Weber of the Customs and Immigration Union in Ottawa as saying, as we knew, it was hours of waiting for some trucks. Officers were working overtime and additional staff were brought in to deal with the backlog, end quote. The Windsor Star reports the CBSA had a serious shortage of 2,000 to 3,000 frontline officers last year. The website noting Canada's public safety minister ordered the CBSA to report within 30 days what really happened with the outage and future steps needed to prevent a new occurrence. Speed Global Services in Kenmore helped provide some yard space for big rig parking last week through their contacts with the Canadian trucking firms, but the backlog affected the shipping industry.
Being part of the Trucking Association of New York, we know that the data is there. Within 3 days, if you're not getting any deliveries, you're going to feel it, both in your grocery stores and through manufacturers and everywhere else. So I'm sure that they were feeling it up in Canada, and I know there were some customers down here that were not able to service their clientele proactively now, thinking about it, to work with the DOT, work with NITEC to see how can we get the traffic to flow into not just our yards, but any other available yards. And I think that's something that DOT, Customs, I'm not sure what jurisdiction would work on that, but should start thinking of.
Now, the NITEC Traffic Monitoring Agency says there actually have been some review meetings as to what happened last week with that backlog. And also, they say there's going to be upcoming meetings to discuss some of that contingency planning as to where they should send those trucks if that happens again. Reporting live overlooking the Peace Bridge here, I'm Ron Plants, Channel 2 News.